Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Auf die Fresse, the WXW review podcast in English. I'm Ian Hamilton, joined once again by Mike Kilby. And Mike, we're looking back at Shortcut to the Top, but been quite a few announcements in the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's been a very news-heavy couple of weeks, really, isn't it? The last one was obviously was Dead End, but everything's been the full lineup for Tagfest has been announced. We've got lots of returns. We've got surprises. I think it's a bit of a disappointment. We kind of got nothing to really go until end of September, really. I always find that Shortcut to the Top, it's great. You get something new, exciting, and you can't do anything for a month or two. It's always a bit disappointing.
We'll give us away at the end, but it's weird how there's that big break in the calendar. Normally have something like a fan to break it up, but this year I don't want to be all melodramatic and say they don't appreciate us, because I know that's absolute cobblers, but it's one of those conspicuous by its absence events in the card. But got a few announcements. We'll rattle through these and then look at Shortcut to the Top and tell you what we're planning on doing before World Tag Team Festival in September, October. But yeah, as you said, quite a few big announcements during Shortcut to the Top. World Tag Team Festival, they are bringing in Sanity. That's Eric Young and Axel Tischer, which, there's this big Sanity retro thing that seems to be going on. No progress abroad from in OTTs used from, I think, Black Label from the States. They've tried to bring in combinations, and I mean, Eric Young and Axel Tischer, I don't think that's a duo they've done on the indies, so
European wrestling is nostalgic for a faction in WWE that nobody gave a crap about. Yeah, fair enough. I think Tischer's got a lot of sway in Europe at the moment, kind of being probably the biggest star in the entire continent at this moment, and that's not even just saying in Germany. I think in general, I think it's probably the biggest star on the scene, and he's got a lot of sway, and maybe that's why him and Damo can kind of get these bookings. But it's a bit of a left field one. I think a lot of people. I think you're either absolutely delighted, or you're a bit, okay. There's I don't think there's anybody who's just kind of mildly pleased about it. It's just you're either absolutely delighted or you're just okay, whatever. I'm not against it at all, but it's just at least it's Eric Young and Tischer rather than Damo Tischer.
It's a combo that I've not seen too much of. I've not checked how much they've done, even back in the NXT when they were a thing. I guess the Eric Young, Axel Tischer stuff, I really don't want to say, they're going to be the Spirit Squad of this year's Tag Team Festival, but
no, I don't think they will be.
That kind of level, I guess, in terms of we're not regulars, but we're also not completely. I'm going to get killed for saying this. We're not washed up either.
No, and Eric Young, he's someone I've never seen live, not knowingly seen live, unless I've forgotten a house show or something. Have you been missold, Eric Young? But it's but Tischer is obviously on this losing streak, I suppose, and I suppose there's do you get a thing where you have a hot Eric Young, he's absolutely storming it, and Tischer's the one who lets him down? I don't know. It's one of those things you can kind of go for. I don't think they'll win the title, but I think it's interesting to a point. I think there's a bit of a. I think fans of our type are very weary of anything that is WWE, for quite rightly, especially in WXW. But I think it's. I don't know. I think it might be all right.
I don't think we're going to get the new Canyon Seaman video anytime soon, especially not the new premises.
You'd hope not. I think obviously we might be able to talk about that in a bit, but I think that might be
well,
the past. Fingers crossed.
But a return that's gotten a way more positive response. 5 years on from her breakout debut in the Femme Fatale tournament, Killer Kelly's back.
Yeah, and like you say, it was a breakout debut.
5 years feels like a lifetime ago at this point, which
it doesn't feel like 5 years, does it?
No.
But I suppose it was 2017, wasn't it? Yeah, that was because she was a last-minute replacement for somebody. You'll have to remind me who it was.
I want to
One of the, I think it was Pollyanna. Yes, it was Pollyanna.
No, Pauline French wrestler. They were doing the warm up for the tag title, so the women's title tournament. I think she was in, or she was replaced at some point, but it was definitely late placement, not planned, which made
or was it Ginny or something? I can't remember.
But either way, she was brought as late replacement. I remember Alan Farrell, doing commentary for time, completely blown away. And I think everyone's like, we'd heard the name obviously, but it was one of those kind of like, when we did the character previews, like we'd kind of heard of the name, but never seen, had no.
Well, it was no different. It was no different to when Norman Harris was chucked into Tag League, or when we suddenly had Oscar turn up, or Anil Marek or something like that. Yeah. It's kind of not really any different to that. I think she's someone who's she bet on herself. Portugal as a wrestling scene was going nowhere. She's moved to Germany. She moved to Germany, made it her home. I would probably say, really, it is her home in terms of wrestling, at least. Anyway, she absolutely, I think she did brilliant sort of in her time in Germany. She'd had a sort of brief run in the UK, hideously cut off by Lady C. But and then obviously she's now working in Impact, isn't it, in the States? So she's out in the States full time with her lovely husband AJ. So so I suppose really, I think in every sort of metric, WXW, not only professionally but also personally, was very, very good for Kelly. And it's home. I think it's a wonderful thing to have her back. I didn't expect her to be back, to be honest. I thought she might have.
Maybe not this quick.
It might have been. We might get a. Sorry.
Especially not this quick. Like she literally just made her in-ring debut for Impact. But I know there's a few people. I know there's a few people as well hoping on the back of this. Maybe a reunion of the Crown with Alexander James, since I don't believe he's not any part of WWE anymore. But again, that's maybe discussion for another time. Yeah,
I don't know about that, and I wouldn't want to speculate on it, to be honest. But yeah, I think in terms of Kelly, I think we might. I think it would have been nice. Oh, she might get a big title match at Carrot, or maybe even Femme Fatales next year. But I wasn't. She's come back from injury very quickly, to be honest, because obviously she had the nose injury, kind of a bit of a rare one, really. But she had the nose injury, obviously, which kept
back
her
in
out
last year, because she was getting a run with was it Beyond? I think was. I know I've fallen off watching Beyond, but herself, Alexander James, Wheeler Yuta, and Logan LaRue were part of a group called Rally, I think it was, and I think we did this big show on the beach this time last year, and then all of a sudden just all evaporated.
Yeah.
I mean, she's had the surgery, so obviously back wrestling, like say, for Impact. I think she's got a few indie dates booked up soon, which she's advertising. So clearly it's not just a work Impact and nothing else. So 6 weeks, and see her back in Germany, hopefully in a circle as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I think it's all in all, it's a net positive to have her back. I think probably short of Tim, I think it's probably one of the biggest returns you could have that was possible. I don't think anybody's got any complaints about this at all. And it's shaping up to be a very interesting tournament already. At least, the people who are in it already, I think it's very interesting.
May as well go round up the names we have so far for Femme Fatale. So 3 more names announced earlier this week. Eva Klasky, former women's champion, she's in. Nikki Foxley and another former champion, Ava Everett. She's back over in Europe this time of year.
That's adding to.
Yes, I think that's now Ava, Nikki, Kelly, Orshi, and Masha Slambridge. So that's 6 now, is it?
Yeah, that's 6. So you'd assume Alison's in them? No, no, the champion doesn't usually do it, does she?
No, it's usually for informing, I guess, a title shot late in the weekend. So
you'd maybe assume Calypso.
yes, maybe we can touch on what's happened to Shortcut, maybe Calypso.
Let's be quite fluid in this, I think, because it's a bit of a short one, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
But obviously, Calypso, going into the show, on the second match, Calypso had a fairly, not a bad match with Alison in a title match, obviously getting her sort of mandatory, almost like a mandatory title shot from her win in the OPC match. Yeah. So she defeated Alison by count out. So actually, she's got 2 wins in. She's got 2 wins in the column against the champion. So in a way, I think if she hasn't, I think she should definitely be in the tournament, judging by that. And I suppose there's space for another announcement, maybe if they do one, but don't really know anything about that yet.
Yeah, and I'd also hope as well, if she is in the tournament to get a bit more of a better reaction. I mean, we kind of touched on this in the last show. Obviously, that match over Alison was in the Fight for Paris one night tournament. I don't want to say nobody got who she was, but it certainly seemed like it was a bit of a who are you kind of thing. So again, you win by count out. It's established her as a threat in the to the Oberhausen crowd. So yeah, it makes sense whether it's in the tournament or another title match, but you'd also expect you've won by count out, you've won non-title. If it's a third match, would have to be some form of stipulation on that.
Yeah, for sure. But then I suppose if she wins Femme Fatales, which I'm not saying she will, but if she does well in Femme Fatales, then I suppose that she kind of forces her way back into the picture again. Although really, she should actually be getting another title shot, judging by 2 out of 3 wins. Two out of 2 wins against the champion. So.
Let's see what Benevolent Norman does. Seems right now he's been a bit taken aback by contracts lately, if you want to go by our videos. And I guess that touches into some of the final team announcements. So we touched on Sanity earlier. Sense of Ultra Igel Blanc, they've been announced for Tag Festival. And the last team in, the Pretty Bastards, or I guess you could call them Shotgun Tag Team Champions, since they both have one of those belts. Prince Ahura and Maggot reunited first time in 2 years.
Yes, I actually had somebody message me the other day on Facebook, and they said, can I just ask you, what's actually going on with this? Like, are they both champion? And I was like, well, that's a very good question. It's kind of yes. So obviously the Bastards are back together. So this was contractual. From my understanding, this was part of the contract, and it was signed.
Yeah, it looks
when he swapped the contract, was it?
Yeah, so when who was brought back, was it Real of Wrestling 34, I want to say? When he did the contract switch through, one thing they said was he got the number 1 contender shot against Norman in Frankfurt. There's obviously other stuff that's been in there now. I don't know how long that keeps going. Like, it feels like this could be something where there's more stuff in there, but Norman, read the bloody contract, mate. That's all I'm going to say. Stop hacking up, stop getting caught out. But yeah, I mean, clearly we've said last time we're clearly building towards a Ahura Maggot for the unified shotgun title. I fully expect whatever they do, Tag Festival is just going to lead to that.
Yeah, you'd think so.
You've seen the promo videos.
Yeah, so in the promo video, obviously, it catches Maggot by surprise. He's like, what? Okay. They have announced Maggot for a show later in that month where he is Shotgun Champion, so I assume they're not going to do... Well, they could do a title change, I suppose, but...
Graphics are easily editable.
Yeah, exactly. So they have kind of gone Shotgun Champion Maggot, so who knows, really.
So that's the whole World Tag Team League lineup set. Got one more big announcement, I guess.
Yeah. So just to be clear, the line that is the full 8 teams, isn't it now? So,
yep. So we've got
Calamari Drunk Kings, Sanity, Sense of Ultra Igla Blanc, Rot and Flot, Pretty Bastards. We've got Irie and Abe.
Yep.
And I'm last 2 Arrows are
Finals
hungry.
is Trevor, Dominic Green, and Kevin Kuhn. They also
Yes,
hungry,
Kevin
but I
Keoghan.
guess it's a big question mark since may as well bleed back and forth between the shows. So Dover inched his elbow at shortcut for top.
Yes.
I watched what I thought it was back. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't know where the injury could have occurred. I mean, it was a bit very early on. It looked like a blocked hip toss, something like that. You could tell he's really shaking his elbow out, and then they did the thing in the shortcut with was it Tahani with the crossface kendo stick to get him written out as an injury. So there's been no timeline shared on what the injury is, how long it's going to be. I know they did rejig a lot of the card for the Passion Pro show last weekend.
Yeah.
Which is going to be the Arrows as the tag then got turned to was Icarus and Lawrence Roman as the Arrows, so against the Goodises.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. I suppose you have there's an element of you can kind of just throw Raymond in with Icarus probably.
Bad rules.
Yeah, you could have Amboss as just a fluid thing. I suppose that works. It'd be a shame. It'd be a shame obviously if the full Arrows aren't there, but there's not really a timeline for it yet. So I think they're probably waiting and seeing probably.
So one last announcement for Tag Festival weekend. Speedball Mike Bailey's been announced for the weekend. I think it was only today as we record this they actually said what he was doing. And I guess it's a bit convoluted. So he's going to be facing Bobby Guns on the Saturday night in a number one contenders match. Winner of that taking on Tristan Archer for the Unified World Wrestling title on the Sunday.
Yeah.
So, they've Speedball and Bobby Guns have had matches before. I think the first card I went to, it's that famous one where Bobby Guns completely dislocated Speedball's fingers.
Well, that match was kind of the crowning of Guns as a big star. I think that was when he first started getting the massive reactions.
Yeah,
at Saturday.
He's been shotgun champion then, so it's kind of what 5.5, 4 bit years on, kind of going full circle, and obviously Speedball, exhibition champion in Impact as well. So, I'm not saying politics or anything like that, but very interesting to see how that's played off.
Yeah, but I don't know if they would necessarily be beholden to that. It's WXW, I suppose, isn't it?
No, it's for me. It's more of a whole Jonathan Gresham we've seen progress too. Ring of Honor belt match didn't make the network, but again, could very easily be a tag festival, just not make the network like we've done with Couch and make it WXW now exclusive.
Yeah, what's his name? Who was it? Evan Bourne. Sorry, Matt Seidel. Sorry, I dead named him. Matt Seidel, obviously, he did Carrot as X Division champion.
They just didn't wheel the belt out. So
no, he came out with the belt.
So
he came out with a belt, and he went out first round.
Use. I guess that's more of a point of, is that the dictate it's going to be shown on the network or not? Again, we'll see how it goes. I would suspect they'd want to keep this festival, I don't want to say special, but off the network like we did with Carrot. So
yeah, you'd think so. I don't know. I think it either. Well, I suppose even to be honest, Killer Kelly being in it, does that cause problems? If Killer Kelly's in the Femme Fatales tournament, does that make that a thing they can show? And you'd think they probably want to show something like a women's tournament. And Masha as well. I mean, she's been on AEW.
I mean, Masha's match with Moodle was on the network, so
okay.
I guess really, barring AEW, I suspect, and I don't know, so this is just me, making total shots in the dark. I would guess it. You can say letters, but other companies' belts. I think that's the issue. Maybe intellectual property. You can't show their belts on your TV, etc.
Ultimately, it makes zero difference to WXW though, because say WXW just give them the footage and they crack on with it.
Say no, going to Adobe Premiere and slice stuff out. That's on them, but
yeah.
So one last bit before we talk about the rest of Shortcut. So we talked last time about the move to the Gelsenkirchen Alma Park Fight Club.
Yeah.
They've held the first fight forever tapings there, and from the photos photos they put out and other photos of the venue, it looks pretty cozy. A couple of rows of seats standing on the ring. I'll say is it's maybe not a venue I want to go to in the middle of a heat wave, but yeah, be interesting to see what it's like for Inner Circle and how many people actually can squeeze on that ring.
Yeah, well, it's quite a. I've had a look around the building on Google Maps. I've had a little walk around it because you can actually do that. It's. I think it probably. I get the impression there's a bit of air conditioning in there, so I don't think it might be too bad. The actual setup they've got there, they've sort of in a. If I would say like a little. I don't want to say a side room, but they've kind of got. Pretty much a side room. They've got like a. They've topped the sort of the walls in sort of the academy, in the academy branding.
Yeah.
Obviously got the room. They have the seats along one side. Whether this means that the shows are going to be all, because one of the things I remember them saying was the shows are going to be back to standing, but they have all them seats.
So from what I made out from speaking to Gunny, who's at the show doing photos ringside, the numbers I'm going to get for proportions off, I think some like 70 seating and 50 standing or something like that.
Actually, you can stand there.
So there's a mix like that. So
okay.
The 3 sides, best way I can describe it is like imagine like a squash court, that kind of thing, where
yes,
you've got the ring at the back of it. You have enough room for 1 or 2 people deep to stand around it along the 3 sides.
Right. Okay. So there is
the 4th side, kind of like the hard cam view, you'd have your rows of seating and standing from back. So I guess, how do you compare it to? Was it the Frankfurt tapings we have where it's kind of close up? Move obviously for seating, but imagine we've got like all of them.
Well, in a way, the Turbine Halle was like that because you had the big block of seating, and then everywhere else was standing. So I suppose it's just that, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, this also could be something that's pretty fluid as well. But from the way it's looked, and I say they've topped off the walls of the window. I think any dives you're going to get, unless someone's really sadistic, you're not going to get people diving off windows like those reverse Randy Orton Triple H stuff from years ago. So you're going to get, it's going to feel a bit snug. But again, the old Academy in Essen was kind of like that. They tried, there was one wall you couldn't do dives on this. It's free, and they still made it work. So
yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of an odd one, really.
But we did the tapings. They'll be dropping on YouTube next Wednesday and the Wednesday after. I think literally before we started recording, they've dropped a match from Shortcut to the Top as a teaser. So the full graphics, they've got Dave Bradshaw doing commentary. Alex Ken against Nick Schreier, I think it's about 5-6 minutes long. Worth dropping into. It's building up the stuff they've taped. And yeah, we'll probably take a look when we're back next time to see what Fight Forever actually ended up looking like.
Yeah, it's because we have no idea. We don't know if they've recorded vignettes or anything. It's just all we know is the show's happened, really.
Yeah. So
I've not seen any spoilers because I've kind of made it act. Well, actually, I think people have been quite generous and they've just not spoiled anything. So
yeah, I think I think for Shortcut weekend they were very quiet in general. Like they made a point of saying, we're keeping our social media spoiler free. We're doing this. So literally, you were having to look for people who were there to do spoilers, and hope they weren't pulling your leg with some of the entrance, which we will touch on in a moment. But so quick run.
I was doing that, and I wasn't even there.
Well, unbeknownst, you hit lucky on one of them. But go for the undercard. Amboss beat Team LSG, so Peter Hani, Agla Blanc, LSG, and Sense of Alto. It's a match we suspect Dover got the elbow injury in, but opening 8-man tag, Amboss win. And we said from the start they are really building up towards Amboss and a killer combination. You'd guess maybe fall back to the roots in the Kayfic Schlacht.
Yeah, there's not really the clear. I don't know. I suppose you get to a point where they really have to get a super team, and you end up with with Guns, Knight, Tischer, and Simmons, that sort of thing. Do you end up with like a big four like that? You don't know. What the thing I thought was quite interesting was how conflicted. So obviously, immediately after the match, they had the arm break sort of thing with Senza Volto and Igla Blanc, I found Tihani's reaction to be quite interesting.
Yeah, so
I don't know if you picked up on that.
The whole time he's been, oh, I can't believe my trainers have done this. It's like, well, I don't know if this is planting seeds for, is he gonna join up with Amboss, or is he gonna be kind of like a float of that kind of thing? But definitely you're getting this kind of thing where early on, as WXW struggling to Team WXW, for want of a better word, is struggling to get anything up against Amboss. You're already starting to see cracks within the home forces.
Yeah, and like Tihani's consistently being sort of the most. I think he's probably like the most violent. Not violent. I don't know what the word is. He seems to be the most motivated, should we say?
Yeah,
he's the most motivated.
Turn on him, and we'll say embarrassed, but we've definitely made points.
But then, obviously, Senza Volto breaks Dover's arm or whatever he does. In the so they obviously he traps they trap Dover's arm in a chair like they was going to do to so and so the other week before. Tihani goes, no, I can't do it, and then Senza Volto grabs the chair and just whacks it, and then Tihani's just like, he's not happy about it at all. I don't know if I suppose there's an element of, I don't know, does he still respect his trainers? Is it, I suppose the kind of the reductive thing is, oh, is he just going to turn? Is he going to join Amboss? I suppose it's yeah, I'm intrigued to see where that goes. It wouldn't surprise me if that did happen.
I think so. Maybe to some extent, like they're starting, not some have been including Ilya Bloom into this as well. So maybe you've got the element of, I don't say jealousy, but we've got the whole thing of, Tihani was the big shining star coming out of Carrot, kind of faded in the background, and now we've got this burgeoning new talent, academy grown. Maybe get something like that where Bloom's starting to get more opportunities for whatever reason. Maybe that's part of the, part of the background that might, spark something, but definitely, you're going to get a lot more of these, Amboss versus WXW Special Forces, for a better word. And at some point we'll get the combination, but for the time being, it's all Amboss.
Yeah, it worries me if this is just all we're going to get until the Cave-Schlet. I personally don't think that they've found that. I don't think they've got their teeth into anybody yet, and I think they need to get the attention of a Simmons, or they need to get the attention of a Batisha, and then I think it's on.
There is a tag festival coming soon, so you never know.
Yeah, exactly. There's all them options, I suppose, isn't there? But
I guess speaking of Tisha, move on. We've all covered the women's match. Axel Tisha, Bobby Guns. I know, this was announced and it was like, oh, two big names, middle of the card. Okay, this feels a bit weird to be throwing on mid cards. I know Felix Kohlenberg, tweeted, a fantastic match. This blew me away. Like, I was not expecting this.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is
mid card match. Like, I thought, oh, it's going to be maybe storyline, soften one of the two up so we don't win shortcut. This was an absolute cracker.
Yeah, I think work rate.
It's a good
in terms of working wise, I think it's the best match WXW's had this year. I can't think of anything that was technically as good as that.
I'm struggling as well. I mean, like Carrot was a few that maybe came close, but I mean for this, like, how long this one go? That went
short of something with an import. I can't. Okay, let's put an asterisk. It's the best domestic match of the year. Because you could probably make an argument for some of the Arbe or Irrite matches, but it's the best home match, should we say? Of the year. I can't think of anything better.
16 minutes went at a hell of a pace throughout. So I was watching, it's like there's barely time to breathe. Like they were just going boom, 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 boom. It wasn't a I do move, we watch, stare at each other and do another one. This, like, I want this match to be run again at some point. No, maybe Carrot next year.
Yeah, if this was a, I could see this as a Friday night main event, or something like that. I wasn't really sold on, as I say, I think every single week. I don't know whether it's something he's picked up elsewhere, but I just feel that Tisha has been slept on. I think, especially in WXW. I don't know what he's doing elsewhere, but there's just the little things he adds into his, like like going into Carrot this last year, he was kind of doing the reluctantly violent stuff, and I know that that's a bit of a terrible Triple H trope, but he was doing it better than I've ever seen anybody do it. And now there's the whole lack of confidence thing that he's kind of like, Joe, I'm not so happy. He knows he's not 100%.
Yeah, I mean, you look at stuff like, obviously he's lost for title to Carrot. He's had several chances to regain it. Tellingly, this doesn't play like somebody. He lost the GWF title in Berlin in June. Just looking at his cage match, he's getting title shots everywhere. So it's not like he's been brought in and doing undercard stuff. But I do wonder.
Sorry, go.
But I do wonder, like, we talk about the Sanity stuff. Big Damo won the Progress title last weekend. It's a little bit. I mean, again, this is just me being overly cynical, being a little bit nervous. The change of regard in WWE right now.
Yeah, is he on his?
Is the Sanity reunion coming up?
Yeah,
not on the Indies either.
Is he on his? He's working. He's doing his gardening leave sort of thing.
Yeah,
he's heading back. There is that, I suppose. I kind of was trying to avoid saying that, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's a worry.
Kawanoa stuff, and okay, Kawanoa's injured, and I guess this was kind of fulfilling for what you'd expect, but it just seems a bit weird how, rather than treading water or even doing the Axel Tish versus, had LSG at Dead End, it just feels it's a bit odd how just out of nowhere you had this match. And WXW don't tend to do a lot of this stuff where you have a match of this caliber that doesn't lead to anything down the line.
If it didn't have this match, though, that would be a very weak undercard.
True.
Because and as much as I think you can argue that Shortcut is a one match. It's a show that sells it on the gimmick match, and yeah, I get that. But without that, you'd be looking at kind of. But I think if they'd announced that a few weeks, because this was announced, well, the week before, really, pretty much, wasn't it? I think if you'd announced that match a little bit previous, I reckon you would have probably got a few more bums through the door. Maybe even people from further afield. I think it was. If you don't have this sort of level of match, that undercard's pretty weak on paper.
I suppose. I mean, again, we can just move on to the title match of who with Tristan Archer. I think for me, a lot, big issue I had with that match. I can't speak for Cobb, but bear in mind the way who engineered the match himself. I had issues buying him as a viable challenge. Like, yeah, this was near falls, but I didn't really expect nor think, he's going to.
There was never a point where you believed that Uhura was going to win.
No.
Yeah.
Especially when he had the shiny shotgun title, all that be dealt. Like, I'm not saying it was a match I completely switched off for, but it was one of those. It's like you could only go so far.
It was a foregone conclusion what the result was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, wasn't bad. I think who definitely got elevated a little bit, with the loss. But again, you have the extra baggage with that, like say the shiny shotgun belt, which to me kind of means as long as that's still hanging over him, I'm going to find it a little bit tricky to even, maybe tag titles, but I find tricky even anything serious in the singles divisions will be tricky to buy into for the time being.
He's already got the storyline, and the storyline he's turned up with another shotgun belt.
Yeah.
So there's already the storyline there. So in a way, this is just dressing, and regardless of the fact that the World Championship was just kind of used as a bit of dressing for this, with this mid-card, well, let's say this mid-card feud, it's, it kind of pretty much says it all, really.
It's a bad comparison with the Brock Lesnar Hardcore Holly title match at Royal Rumble's that kind of
Yeah,
not your title challenge of the month, but it's hey, give a guy who we haven't put on this level before, see what he can do. Now you've got your answer, and once all the stuff's wrapped up, who knows, he might be back there.
Yeah, and it's like anything. If you go back say we go back 5 years, where's Tristan Archer? Nowhere. So, with that,
5-6 years ago, he was a Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah, exactly.
That popped in my YouTube thing recommendations a while back. It was last week. So I thought, watch it, see where everyone is. Like, he had no tattoo 6 years ago. He was one of those
he didn't have
clean
his weed
shaven.
tattoo, did
Hmm?
he? He didn't have his Dragon Ball Z tattoo.
Not that it was visible, but definitely, chalk and cheese compared to today. But again, it's not the only one who's in that lineup that went places other than WWE.
Yeah,
but we alternate universe would have been weird. But and wrap up with Shock at the top end. I'm not going to go through all the names and who did what. There's reporting back bodydrop.com with that, but few big name surprise. So Mike Schwartz came back in. Tank was back, I think 6 years since his last one. Alpha Kevin, who did you know he once eliminated Chris Hero?
Yes, they don't mention it very often, do they?
I don't know if I mentioned all this. Yeah, I didn't listen to the German commentary, but yeah. So and then Rambo, who I don't think we've seen since the Shotgun 2020 days, and the guy who you jokingly tweeted about.
No, I was joking. I had scoops.
Well, one of the two was there. Tillman. What the hell?
Yeah, so Metihan, Teoman, Lucky Kid, whatever his name is. Yeah, he's.
They had Eye Touch from Hazel with the old Hazel music.
That was interesting as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, come on, the Dan Bulldozer stuff, the funky 70s game show music as in Berlin's out there, but yeah, Tillman has under that name with his NXT UK music, and about going all conspiracy theory, there's a fair amount of conjecture about what's going on with NXT UK right now.
I mean, you pointed me to it first. The wording on Instagram was very interesting.
Comeback.
Yeah, it was comeback. It wasn't. Yeah, and whether that word holds the same weight in German as it does in the in English, I don't know. But for me, that looks like he's back semi-regularly.
I mean, this could be me doing two and two together and failing my maths GCSE, but Eddie Dennis is back in progress somewhat regularly. Like they're making a pretty big deal of it. Even if you put aside NXT UK, whatever's going on there, like cancel tapings, they've spoiled their own title tournament on NXT this week. You've got more names hopping on a transatlantic flight to Florida. Even if that's all to supposedly build up some like a Worlds Collide 2 or something like that, fair enough. But the fact you're starting to see names in NXT UK starting to go back to old haunts, for a better word. I think the
writing's on the wall. I think is what we're saying.
To some degree, yeah. And again, I think depends if this is a one-off. Is Tillman back? Even if it's like night 3 main event at Tag Festival, something like that. But I think the game's reading way too much. But it suggests one thing. But again, he's not been announced for anything. So that could be delayed to come back and see what the hell the schedule is and what works on. Because remember, pre-COVID, NXT UK had this nasty habit of
just announcing a taping
right on
the weeks out. Yeah, I think obviously we don't, we're not an NXT UK podcast, so obviously I'm not going to go mad into it. But I think short of the company obviously not existing, which it's somewhat controversial because obviously the boys are getting paid, etc. If we're at a situation where we have Lucky Kid back on the big shows, and then occasionally he has to fly to Orlando, tape 3 episodes of NXT, and come home, I can deal with that. Maybe that's me being sort of gaslit into thinking that's acceptable, but really,
schedules. I mean, like I said, before COVID, you had NXT UK, but has been very controlled on taping schedule, and as luck would have it, they were always clashing with carrots and tag festivals. Funny how that works, but yeah, I mean,
never clashed with Progress, did it?
Not what I would call, especially not Progress big shows. No,
never clashed with the Ballroom. Never.
They had removed some of the ballrooms to midweeks, I remember very early on, because you had that whole thing of was it Jim Smallman is the Alan Partridge, midweek matters stuff, but. Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that going forward. But as we're shortcut at the top, you called it, Mike.
I did call it. For me, it was the obvious, the obvious winner. I think. Yeah, I purposely didn't really say who I did think was going to win, but I did say Levaniel. I think probably going to be Levaniel.
I mean, yeah, it was a pretty good rumble. I mean, not going through. You had like names you'd expect to be doing stuff in there, like Jörn Simmons cleared the ring, then him going after Heisenberg meant they both eliminated each other, so you had the ring empty for a bit. Bobby Guns took over and took the piss out of Jacob Crane, who, what I will say is, him against Psycho Mike, the June Oberhausen tapings and this. Jacob Crane's got a very good shot of being kind of like Santino Marella comedy character, if they want to go down that road. Like they've set some of the early foundation.
He's not had the big weekend the moment yet. And
no,
there's always
I'm saying as far as being like the bit part of not saying like the designated, you're going to 3 seconds guy, but the stuff he's got, he's made the most of it.
Yeah, he when I say he's not had the big weekend, he's not had the thing where somebody could walk in and says, "Oh yeah, I remember that guy. He's the guy who did X, Y, Z."
Yeah.
I don't think he's had that yet, because unfortunately, not everybody watches these other shows. So I think he needs to have that sort of something happen at Tagfest and everyone go, 4 years on, everybody remembers Bernstein from Wrestling Deutschland.
And when he got rid of the gimmick just before COVID, what the hell?
I don't know if I've put this into audio, but they should. Sorry to talk about something completely unrelated, but Bernstein and Robinson would have been a brilliant tag team during COVID, because you would have had germaphobe Bernstein, who obviously, if you don't know the gimmick, he used to hand sanitize everything at all times.
Stream the tags.
And then you have Lucas Robinson, who is he was a backpacker. So you just have him really depressed because he can't travel. So you have Bernstein, who's a germaphobe, but he's already sanitizing everything, and then Lucas Robinson, who can't travel and he's really sad.
I do.
Yeah, Bernstein as the happy guy.
I do wonder, because obviously, we were both at Carriage just before everything broke loose. Getting hold of hand sanitizer at that time, March 2020 was nigh impossible.
Yeah, maybe he killed the gimmick because he couldn't buy the stuff.
Thanks.
Sorry?
If it was Matthew Bernstein buying it all up, well, we know what happened next. But
yeah, but more likely he couldn't actually get any for the gimmick.
But in a shortcut, so came down to, was it Roman, Orshi, Robert Dreisker, and obviously Levaniel. Orshi tried to slam Dreisker, and he gave out. But Sentinel, I would say it felt weird, but clearly was something we were planning on, which came up at the end when Levaniel was thrown out to try to skin the cat. Dreisker slapped his hands off. He fell down, but wasn't eliminated because he fell onto Orshi's back. Which
yes,
the
kind of a blessing from the stars.
Type elimination avoidance.
Yeah, almost like a blessing from the stars, really, wasn't that? I wasn't sure if that was intentional or not, but then I think I did rewatch it a few times. At first, I was like, "Why is Orshi like helping?" Well, I suppose she would help Levaniel, but there's never been a interaction as far as I know.
No, I mean he tried to give her a hug in the match, and all goes like a begrudging fist bump, which. Yeah, I mean, again, I suppose it's the whole, well, it's us against Amboss kind of thing. And then, seconds later, Levaniel chucks out Dreisker, who nearly fell in Orshi as well, which I don't know if that's, well planned or not. I guess not, but Levaniel wins. Post show, we did it. It's all Lieber this, Lieber that, and then Tristan Archer comes out and attacks him. That's now apparently an injury from that, which goes back to what we said a little bit earlier. The mini tournament at Tag Festival for the shot at Archer, but it was a pretty good rumble. I mean, now along these matches, you're not going to have like your one guy completely turn through for too long, but
one thing I'm
kept
glad
entertained for the hour.
One thing I'm glad didn't happen is we didn't have the trope of the first the first two people come out and then it's amboss.
Yeah.
They clear the ring and then it's like nobody can get in the ring for 10 people.
Space amboss out throughout the match, and like you kind of have that thing, but it wasn't like, oh look, we've got the ring. Like you had
Rotten Flop.
Sure, yeah, Rotten Flop. Chris and Schenkenberg had their numbers. They want to be close to each other.
You briefly had Icarus and Roman do the whole thing together, didn't they?
Briefly, yeah, but I think as far as, hey, we're Amboss, we're gonna screw everything up for everyone now, be frankly kept away from that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the things I've always said with WXW, their strength in terms of the regulars at least. Everyone's got something to do, and that really shines in these kind of matches.
Yeah, like, and even
whether it's like an implicit storyline, but you don't have people come in like Michael and I have had the just split up the Only Friends, but it wasn't like, oh well, I don't know you, Bobby Guns, anymore. They work together, and you kind of had the, well, are they really split, or is it like we've split temporarily, but there's really something still going kind of thing?
Yeah, and like you have somebody like Mikey Schwartz come in, and it's, although he's not got a storyline at the moment, there's always the storyline of he had the big FA Cup knockout the big boys moment when he won the shortcut 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2020.
So he will always be considered a shortcut specialist, I think, for eternity. He will always be, that year Mikey Schwartz won the shortcut.
Like Sunderland 73.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so that's always been a positive for WXW, and so we always put that over about it. But yeah, it's true. Every single person in the company has something, either a storyline they're active in, or they're interesting enough that them being in the ring is a story within itself, effectively.
Yeah. So yeah, Shock at the top, that's it for another year. Levaniel's got the title shot somewhere, but I don't think anytime soon. I don't know whether, I haven't looked at the rest of the WXW line for the rest of the year, but it's not being done at Tag Festival. Coming up, we usually do this after, but after Tag Festival, we've got Bielefeld in October, Dresden, Leipzig, Holzman, but that ain't going to be making tape. Drive of Champions in Frankfurt. Then the 22nd anniversary show at the end of a week before Christmas. So maybe we can drag it out to then.
Yeah, maybe.
Again, as we always say, it's a lot of wrestling to take place. It may end up being he's suddenly back and he's a night 3 challenger and gets massive upset to end the weekend on Monday. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. That always that's still throwing me, the whole Saturday to Monday format for.
I guarantee you, at least one person internationally has screwed and has booked Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
home Monday.
Someone's going to do that, and we're all going to feel really sorry for them.
Yeah, they're going to turn up and like, so where is everybody on Friday night? It looked closed on Friday night.
Yeah, we're in Gelsenkirchen. So
they turn up to Thursday. They go to the academy. It's closed. They turn up to the Turbine on Friday, and it's
a mental image I keep having with Tim. Nobody's told Tim Thatcher. He just turns up in Essen one day. It's like, oh,
yeah.
So anyway, upcoming shows. So got WXW in SimCity in Vienna. You're going there September 23rd for a live event. So it's part of a wrestling festival, right?
The first ever WXW show in Austria. which is a little bit surprising considering maybe the
From Prague,
stars
from London,
the stars that Austria has produced, obviously for WXW. Obviously Walter, Robert Dreisker, Chris Colan, Julian Nero, who probably a little bit of news. Obviously, he's announced that he's only got 2 matches left and he will be retiring. He had his sort of brief return. Hoped he might have turned up sort of in WXW, but doesn't appear to be happening.
Yeah, I felt that Chenny did her joke list and I completely missed was a joke list. Oh, he's coming at number 5 because I thought, oh, yeah, it was at Ty Dillinger years ago when he was 10 guy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a nice, cute show. It's like, nope, it's actually he's retired. It's like, oh, god damn it. But yes, Pro Wrestling Österreich is one of his 2 final shows with, I think, Robert Dreisker's on there as well, which obvious final match. And I have seen EWA. He's been working under some of his old names as well.
Yeah, Hans Hoffman, yeah.
But if that is it, and I know he had the injury forced retirement,
well,
there's some fantastic memories in Directs to be part of Service, Monster Consulting. Just shame it ended the way it did.
Yeah, really big shame. Really big shame. I say I think hopefully, it's as a country, it's produced a lot of people for WXW. But the sort of quickly go into the people announced for the show so far. No matches so far, but we have Tristan Archer, Axel Tischer, we have Eva Kolaski, Maggot and Allison, Ahura, Peter Tihoni, and not Sin Cara, Senza Volta. It'd be interesting. Sin Cara.
If Sin Cara turned up, there'd be quite a few lawsuits coming.
Sorry, Senza Volta. They've all been announced so far, and there may be a few more announced, but so that's been announced for the 23rd of September.
Then a week later, of course, Inner Circle 12 in Gelsenkirchen. Probably have matches announced next month or so, you'd expect. Of course, World Tag Team Festival, Wheel of Wrestling is a normal one, then the wild card, invite only one. Femme Fatales, I think I've already said. So stacked weekend in Oberhausen and North Rhine-Westphalia end of September, early October. Academy show, we touched upon this earlier, they've announced for next 4. Sunday, October 30th, November 13th, Sunday, December 11th, and Sunday, January 29th, all in Gelsenkirchen. So November and January, they have a Fight Forever tapings to go on YouTube and Bilibili. October, December, just live events, which we're not going to be busting out the cameras for that. So we're clearly making a point of running them monthly and getting, I think we're doing like a season ticket of sorts gimmick for that.
Yeah, well, they used to have the Oberhausen and Hamburg season tickets, didn't they? I don't know whether that Oberhausen one still exists. I doubt it does.
I don't, because I think it was that spell, at least the start of this year, we're still dealing with the, are we going to be cancelled?
Yeah.
Are we going to be back in restrictions? I would suspect maybe for 2022, if they can lock down a calendar of dates, but then, of course, everything else going on, as we mentioned last week, that whole thing with traveling fans still going, but home fans aren't. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. Do they stick with Oberhausen monthly and do the rest of just like live events? Again, we're not the guys with the date book, and I guess we'll see. I mean, there are dates I've seen coming up into 2022, or 2023 even. Like you've got, was it Hamburg for Dead End, first week of New Year. Obviously got Carrot and got to go for Erfurt, Limback up before Christ. We've got a date for October 2023. That's got to be like a rescheduled one, surely.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah,
there's a few of the. I think there's a few of the cities where they probably would have done. They probably would have run, but they're still not quite sure. I know Aurich in sort of the northwest of the country. They're waiting on the promoter to kind of go, yep, let's do it, because I think the problem is a lot of the promoters are kind of looking at they're looking at the current situation and kind of going, well, is it going to be fine to run shows? We don't know. So I think there's a bit of that at the moment.
I think we said before, it's the whole thing of, at least in Germany, from what Tass was saying, everyone's running. And what you don't want to be doing is you don't
out
running, you don't be running like, it's a horrible analogy. You don't be working on Battle of the Bands the same night as Foo Fighters are in town, for instance, where you're going to be completely blown out by a traveling act or someone who barely tours. So yeah, be interesting to see how 2023 fills up. Maybe we get back to the time of actually putting up, announcing first half year rather than a couple of months out. But again, maybe we'll see it Tag Festival in a month after next. But so before we head off to Germany, or in your case Austria, we're going to have at least 2 podcasts. So we've got the obligatory World Tag Team Festival preview pod. I promise I will get the preview stuff on the website in the next week or 2. But next up, we're going to dip into the WXW Now archives and head back to August 2015, Fan Appreciation Night in Hamburg. That's up. It's only in German if you want to watch along, but cards featuring likes of Prost against Die Shields, Bobby Guns, and Vinny Vortex's last name he wrestled as
Vinny the Beast.
Yeah. Jörn Simmons versus Stamark. Too Cool against Reich and Schön. I mean, we've had the mini Too Cool. Was it the retro thing on the Indies earlier this year? Scotty Too Hotty going all over the place. Main event, Carsten Beck against Bad Bones, which, how much has really changed from the last 7 years in terms of presentation, in terms of, in-ring, in terms of the crowds? Guess we'll find out. But it's a pretty interesting line to see, Das Power crowd in full effect.
Yeah, and I say, I think it's always tradition. It's always a good thing to come back from the summer, the Sommerpause, to come back to sort of fan appreciation night. So I think really with it's a bit of tradition to come back to a fan, and if they're not going to do it at being WXW, I think we should do it instead.
There's plenty of them in the catalogue, but that'll be, I guess, a couple of weeks' time, maybe getting into September. We'll have a look at that. But football's back, Mike. Anything you want to plug? We've got the Groundhoppers guide. And
there's the Groundhoppers guide. There is the Groundhoppers guide on YouTube, which is a thing me and Arno Furious do, where we talk about football grounds. There's not a new episode for a bit, but you can watch all the old ones, and you can also watch all of. Well, it's on. If you go onto YouTube and type in Groundhoppers Guide on and Eddie, you'll find it there. You can also watch all of the On and Eddie Experience shows, which are very good. They recently did a Premier League preview, which obviously is now 2 weeks old. But
Ten Hag, so still in date.
Exactly. So, so that's me. But I'm Mike Kilby on everything. So if you ever need to find me, just type in Mike Kilby, and you'll be able to find everything.
You want to follow me on Instagram, Back Body Drop, Twitter, Big Back Body Drop, or Ashley in Wrestling. And didn't want to say too much, but everyone's been in touch. Just want to say it's really appreciated.
Yeah.
And been a tough week, but we plow on as best we can. Buried nothing about on a sour note. That's it for Shortcut for Top. Got Tag Festival, and we'll be back in a few weeks' time with Fan Hamburg in 2015. So, China for Time Machine, Mike. We'll see you back in 2015.
See you there.
Cheers.